YouTube has continued to attack alternative media by demonetizing most of our videos. If you'd like to support the channel, please visit our Amazon store or our Patreon page. Links below. Hey, what's going on, everyone? My name is Matt Jarbo. This is the Mundane Matt channel, and I'm not going to lie. I very much like this particular story. I've had a smile on my face ever since I read it, and I honestly can say it couldn't happen to a nicer freaking person. Steve Bannon steps down from Breitbart News after drawing fire from Trump. Now, this was something I think everyone could see was going to happen. The writing was on the wall. It was in the cards, if you will, however you want to approach the particular subject. When Bannon was recorded by Michael Wolff for Fire and Fury, saying the things he did about Donald Trump Jr., it was over. And the thing is, and I'm telling you this right now, Bannon probably thought that this book, this story, would break after Don Jr. did, therefore allowing him to be a prophet, if you will, a person who already knew how bad things were and was just ahead of the curve in terms of calling it. And it would actually make him look good in the eyes of, well, the Don. But no, life finds other ways to mess with him, and that's totally fine. So it says here, Steve Bannon has stepped down as executive chairman of Breitbart News, the right-wing news website, said on Tuesday, after he drew fire from President Donald Trump for comments that harshly criticized Trump's eldest son. Those comments would be that his meeting with the Russian lawyers at Trump Tower back in June 2016 were unpatriotic and treasonous. I'm not saying I disagree. Bannon and I disagree on many things, but I looked at that as the same way. Bannon was quoted in the new book about the Trump White House as calling Donald Trump Jr. treasonous and unpatriotic for meeting during the 2016 presidential campaign with a Russia lawyer who was said to have damaging information on Democratic candidate Hillary Clinton. Now, my favorite thing about this, by the way, and I just kind of want to quickly sidetrack here, is people, his supporters, have come out and been like, it's opposition research, everyone does it, but yet they've attacked Hillary Clinton and the DNC for partially funding the dossier that was originally started by a Republican candidate, and then they picked up the funding after that. So is one form of opposition research allowed, but the other isn't so much allowed? I'm just saying it's kind of one of those things you have to kind of think about a little bit there. Now, the comments drew furious response from President Trump, who said Bannon had lost his mind. If anything, I don't think Bannon ever lost his mind. Bannon is the type of guy, based on what I've read and based on what I've seen, as being very smart and very cunning, but he kind of like, well, probably as he viewed President Obama as trying to be the smartest guy in the room. And that bit him in the butt. That bit him in the butt really freaking hard. And that, to me, goes to show you the amount of hubris that goes into politics. You know, you come in off of being, you know, from the media, you come in from an outside, a world, and you can find yourself really screwed very easily in politics, as the Trump White House has had happen to them multiple times. Now, Bannon later said his treasonous comment was directed at former Trump campaign manager Paul Manafort, who also attended the meeting at Trump Tower. The author of the book, Michael Wolff, has disputed the account, saying here, Wolff's book, Fire and Fury Inside the Trump's White House, characterizes Trump as mentally unstable, inept, and unprepared for the presidency. Yeah. I think that's pretty apparent at this point. I don't think you can sit there and look at Trump and the things he tweets out and the things that he says and a lot of other things and go, he's 100% on board. He's 100% behind the wheel at all times. At no point is there a hamster in there. No, I don't think you can say that. I think even his fervent supporters at times will kind of go, I support his ideas, but I can't always support everything that he says. And if you are one of those people, then God bless you. Now, the thing with Michael Wolff disputing the account is in the passages were there. It was aimed at Don Jr. It was aimed at Don Jr. So trying to about face and aim it at Paul Manafort is clearly a lie. It's clearly a deflection. Manafort's already under indictment from Robert Mueller in that investigation. He's, granted trying to sue the investigation right now for basically trying to target him unfairly. But yeah, I have a feeling, like I said, that Bannon had come at this, because this all happened before he came on board. And I think he knew that there was something rotten in Denmark. And I think he knew that there was something like that was going to happen from this down the road, because he's also been known as the leaker. So he might have been the person who was leaking this information as a way to try to distance Trump from his children, because we know he doesn't like Ivanka and he doesn't like Jared or Reince Priebus. Bannon's out for number one, and Bannon thought he would become, he'd be like the Wormwood, right? From Lord of the Rings. Anyway, Bannon joined Breitbart in 2012 and helped raise the profile of the news site, which is once called a platform for the so-called alt-right, a loose confederation of neo-Nazis, white supremacists, and anti-Semites. You know, Breitbart is Breitbart. I as much as I despise Andrew Breitbart on just a human level, even I think where Breitbart is now on a whole is very different from where Andrew himself would have led the website. That being said, it's still garbage. It's gutter trash. It's terrible. And again, I'm a little bit, I will be fully transparent here. As I said in my last video about Steve Bannon walking back his comments, I'm a little bit perturbed at the whole sending in Milo Yiannopoulos into Gamergate as a way to co-opt it for his own movement. And that it had pretty good results. So again, I have my own theories here. Now he says here, I'm proud of what the Breitbart team has accomplished in so short a period of time in building out a world-class news platform. No, don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. Breitbart pulls in around 83 million people a month. Okay. And so I get about 2 million views or so a month on my channel. So that clearly usurps mine to like the moon and back. I get it. But they're also an entire news organization with multiple team members, and I'm just one idiot sitting in front of my computer talking into a camera. So there's no comparison. But that being said, they built it up. Yeah, they have a large audience, but I feel like more often than not, they end up just very much trying to be more of a muckraker than a journalist or journalist organization or news organization. And I think that ends up hurting their credibility. It also ends up stroking the fires of people who don't follow all the news and maybe don't always get the joke, and it creates a big problem. But at the same time, Bannon stepping down from Breitbart is clearly because of a reason larger than him. And now it says he didn't respond to a request. Now the chief executive, Larry Solov, said in a statement that Bannon was a valued part of our legacy. We will always be grateful for his contributions and what he has helped us accomplish. Well, you know what though? The thing is he helped you. Where you go from now is going to be the fun part. So let's look at this as realistically as humanly possible. Why did Bannon step down? Well, okay. What was Bannon's ultimate goal of joining in with Trump? He wanted his plans. He wanted the travel ban. He wanted economic nationalism, as he says. He wanted stronger borders. You know, you could look at him as being a white supremacist or a white nationalist. I've always viewed Bannon as very much just a dick. That's just what he is. He's just a huge freaking dick. And that being said, he can have his opinions, but he went in there with an absolute plan. And if you listen to Fire and Fury, especially the chapter on Bannon, you get a very solid understanding for what Bannon was attempting to do. Bannon went into the White House on January 20th, 2017 with a plan. He took over a room. He turned it into a war room. He wanted to enact his policies, and he wanted to be the person to do it. Well, the problem with it is, though, is that Trump had his kids. Trump's kids and Bannon, and they clashed. They clashed all the damn time. So he had to find a way to try to get rid of them, which is probably why this information about them constantly leaked out. He was trying to eliminate his opposition in order to be the right ear of the president, in order to then make that kind of stuff happen. When that was stopping, when that started to fail, he might have gotten too ahead of himself, essentially, is how I look at it. He ended up getting himself kind of screwed over and ultimately left, right? Then, of course, he figured if he could bring Roy Moore to victory over Doug Jones or Luther Strange in the beginning, then he would then reestablish his place with Trump. And Trump contacted Bannon all the time. Reports have come out multiple times that have said that he has, in fact, he only memorizes a couple numbers. Bannon's is one of them. They talk almost every day. And that was part of the strategy. Get Roy Moore in Senate. That would get the tax plan. That would get the wall. That would really help devastate the Democrats. It failed because Trumpism doesn't work outside of Trump. And I think we've learned that because they've tried running Trumpism on multiple campaigns and they've lost recently. I'm going to say that I expect there to be a bit of an about face with that for the 2018 election, but that is essentially where we're at. So what you've got that whole situation of Bannon trying to be the outside force for Trump when he realized it wasn't working in the White House. He probably figured if he could be an outside voice for Trump, his wingman on the side, it would eventually lead him back in to the inner circle, right? When General Kelly got fed up and he quit, whoever the next chief of staff would have been, probably would have been Steve Bannon, right? Working his way back into the inner circle to do that, or at least they would have made an attempt for it. But then we get into what happened just about a week ago, which is when this stuff started coming out, everything started coming out. Bannon was talking about pushing for a 2020 run for president, thinking that Donald Trump himself was not going to be running for re-election or wouldn't make it. Now, that tells me that those comments indicate that he knows. He knows some stuff, and he'd be willing to use it against Donald in order to get him to step down or not run again. Right now, his fans, your supporters out there might not believe me on that one, but I believe Bannon would definitely try to use whatever he could against somebody to get his way. And if he could run an exploratory committee and he could make sure that he would be the person with enough financial backing in order to be able to do that, then that was definitely his plan. Now, his plan for that was definitely the Mercer family. They're the billionaires that have been basically funding Breitbart. If you remember, a year ago, Breitbart got hit with a major advertiser pullout, a huge boycott. When that huge boycott hit, they were, trying to fix it. Well, the Mercers have been helping them out. The Mercers are also supporters of Donald Trump. And Bannon here thought that he would be able to get the Mercer support financially in order to make his bid for president and play upon Trump's base, therefore use Trumpism again in order to get Bannon elected, even though Bannon has a much higher unlikability rating because he's not a likable guy. So when this book came out and these excerpts came out and he failed to acknowledge it for days and he failed to hit it up for days, the Mercers pulled their support for Bannon. And when they pulled their support for Bannon, there went any and all aspirations for president. There went any and all aspirations for keeping his job. And all of this was locked in place by the benefactors who pulled the financial strings at that particular organization, which is why we find ourselves where we are right now. Bannon played the Game of Thrones. And he lost due to his own hubris, his ambition, and his inability to understand that Trumpism only applies to one person and one person only. And for that, I feel no sadness for Steve Bannon. Not one bit. The dude's a millionaire. He'll be fine. I wouldn't be surprised if he comes back with a new media venture or if he all of a sudden finds himself working over at dangerous.com with Milo Yiannopoulos. That would be my next step because Milo's been a protege. Milo's been loyal and Bannon's going to need help right now. And if he has the money to basically finance another Milo campaign or to help Milo kind of get to that next level, he'll use it as a springboard to either help pushing the populist platform that Trump was running on in order to try to capitalize on that for a 2020 bid, or he'll just use it as a way to try to get himself back into some form of power and then stay there knowing that he's been smacked down. If anything, if you want to just as a final little thing kind of equate this to Game of Thrones, he's freaking Littlefinger. And we all know what happened to Littlefinger, right? Anyway, what are your thoughts on this? Should be a fun thing. Curious to know your guys. Again, I am curious to know what you guys think about this one. We can disagree, but I'm curious. Be sure to let me know in the comments below if you guys haven't already. Thumbs up the video, subscribe to the channel, share it around, get people in on the conversation. If you do want to help support the channel during the adpocalypse, best way to do that, link below in the video description. Patreon, PayPal, Amazon affiliate, or Bitcoin. And or if you just want to watch more content from me, you can do so right now.